Okay, I guess I'll just go ahead and start it. If my voice is slow, just let me know that so I can speak up. So today I'm happy to lead you through a discovery workshop on uncovering latent structures in data using a technique called topic modeling, which was stemmed from NLP, natural language processing, but has its applications way beyond natural language processing. So today we'll get to learn about it. Well, by the way, happy Halloween. If you do want to follow the demos live, you can find all the collab notebooks that I will be using on this GitHub link. You don't have to, it's totally optional. And all these materials will be available on that GitHub. So to start from, if we have a collection of documents, can we tell what they are about? This happens to us every single day during our reading. Or in another word, can we uncover the hidden thematic structures within this text? To put it in a technical term, this is what we call topic modeling. Here, the topic simply means a collection of words that frequently appear together and represent some theme within the text. Think about how we formulate a topic in our own reading. Naturally, we read about some contents and we're able to abstract some like frequently seen words and frequently mentioned items from the context we are reading, from which we can derive the topics in our mind. So topics is essentially consisting of the words. And most importantly, the top words. For example, when we're reading about words like marketing, stock, inflation, we naturally think about the topic economics. And if we're reading about game, league, player, score, this naturally leads us to think about sports. Formally speaking, a topic is a mixture of words or a probability distribution over the words. And moreover, from these topics, it forms the documents that we are reading, either the article or the post, newspaper, etc. And each document is represented as a mixture of topics. As we have no prior knowledge of what these topics are, and we get all these knowledge on them from reading, this is an unsupervised learning technique, meaning that we do not have labeled information from it. And this is widely used to extract hidden themes from text. Just think about how we read text. When we see the sentences or posts like this, we naturally focuses when we read through all the sentences and words, either the hot keywords that we are seeing repeatedly, or the words that we naturally relate to some other relevant contents that we've seen before. For example, in the left post, we've seen these words like cancer, survival, epidemiology, which leads us to think that this post will be talking about something about cancer research or medical studies. And on the right, this post has these keywords of power, energy loss, which falls under a totally different topic. This is how we human interpret these. And machine can do similar thing in a much more efficient way when we're handling a large corpus of data. Suppose we have a large collection of all these posts. What machine can do, it can easily extract the word distributions from the text we have. This is just a word cloud, but more importantly, machine can help us summarize these word distribution into what we call a word count matrix, which counts the occurrence of each unique word in each document that we're reading. Suppose we have n documents and n words. This gives us a document word matrix X of size n by n. And this is the observed data we have for our topic modeling algorithms. And again, as I mentioned, we have no prior knowledge on the topics. So we typically just assume we want to extract, say, K topics from these contexts we are reading. To do this, topic modeling takes these observed data matrix as the input data, and then it output the topics and their mixtures. The output typically contains two other matrices. One is the document topic matrix. Here we call it data. This is of size m by k. It encodes the topic composition of each document. And we have a second matrix, which is the topic word matrix. This matrix phi encodes information on the word composition of each topic. And these two together give us the information of our latent topics that we inferred from the text we're reading. There are a bunch of popular topic modeling methods existing. Some are probabilistic or generative methods. Some are based on matrix factorization. Some more advanced ones are based on deep learning. And there are also some topic modeling methods that are designed specifically for some type of data with domain knowledge. But for today, as an entry-level introduction, we will just be focusing on two most popular methods in topic modeling, the latent Dirichlet allocation and the non-negative matrix factorization. So first on latent Dirichlet allocation, LDA. So what LDA does is it treats the input matrix X as being generated from some hidden variables that we want to learn about. Just recall, like we just mentioned, like we model the document as a mixture of topics, and we model the topic as a mixture of words. So we assign each document a topic distribution theta I, and each topic a word distribution phi k. From these, we generate the words. Words are generated by first sampling a topic and then sampling a word from that topic. So this involves an intermediate variable here. Here, Z is simply the topic of the else word in the I's document. It will be an integer from 1 through k, the index of our topics. And from this latent D variable, we will be able to generate W, which represent the words. It will be an integer from 1 to n, where n records the size of our vocabulary, the number of unique words. So this is just one topic. This is just one word, and a document consists of multiple words. So here, suppose there are L words in this document, and note here that this L does not equal n, as n is the vocabulary size, which equals the number of unique words, and L is the total number of words in that specific document. We have this one document generated, and we have multiple documents in our data collection. For each of these documents, we have such a document topic distribution with its entries summing up to 1. And for each topic, we also have this topic word distribution with the entries summing up to 1. So both theta and phi here are probability vectors, which leads us to naturally use a so-called Dirichlet distribution to be their prior distribution. And this Dirichlet distribution is exactly where that latent Dirichlet allocation, the name of this method, comes from. So if you have not heard of Dirichlet distribution, it is a distribution over probability distribution over k elements. So for a distribution of order k parameterized by this alpha vector with k entries, the probability density function looks like this, where B is the beta function, and inside it there's a gamma function there. So I'm skipping some math here. The mean of each element from this distribution is controlled by the relative proportion of this alpha over the total sum of all the alpha entries, where alpha is the parameters. And the variance is controlled by the scale of these alphas, like if the total sum of all the alpha entries is larger, then we tend to have a smaller variance, meaning that each element will get tighter concentration around its mean. What's good about this distribution is it's the conjugate prior distribution for multinomial distribution, where we are going to sampling our topics and words from. So just recap on this generative process of latent distributed allocation. For each topic K, we draw from this prior distribution, the distribution over words. And for each document, we draw its distribution over topics. Next, with this topic, for each word, we will draw the topic assignment. Here, each topic is defined as a multinomial distribution over the vocabulary parameterized by theta. And finally, we will draw the words from that topic over word distribution. And this gives us the observed data that we are seeing. That is the sentences and words we see in our documents. And this is the only observed variables. All these words can easily be transformed into that document word count matrix that I mentioned earlier is the input to topic modeling. For all the other variables, the topics for each word, the distribution over topics for each document, and the distribution of words per topic, these are all latent variables that we need to learn from this learn in this model. I'm skipping the math here, but just this is how the joint probability is going to look like. So the goal of latent distributed allocation is to find the parameters that maximizes probability. Because this is an NP hard inference problem, so it is typically done either by MCMC, Markov chain, monocolor Markov chain, or variational inference. So we've talked about briefly how this algorithm works. Now we move on to see how it actually works for our data. So the first example that I will be showing comes from this data set of press releases from Alert, this platform which provide online science news service featuring health, medicine, science, and technology news. So this is a publicly available data set. It's quite large, so I'm not recommending downloading it right now. But for the demo, for the first demo, I will be using this data set. So I will be soon transforming to the Colab notebook that I will be showing how we apply topic LDA on this data set. So in Python, LDA is implemented in scikit-learn, the popular package we like. It's also available in some other NLP languages. So if you are working specifically with text data, I would recommend go for those package implementation. Here I'm using the scikit-learn package because I will be extending its application to other data types. It's also implemented in R, although we will not be showing LDA example in R today. For example, the package topic models do this. So now let's take a look at this toy example LDA result. And again, this notebook is available in the GitHub repo. So I preloaded some stuff and hope it's still connecting there. So these are just packages that help me loading the data. And here is what the data set looks like. It has way more than 10,000 items. I'm just showing using the first 10,000 as example for our illustration. It has the link ID, title, and description of these press releases, as well as some keywords, journal type, those auxiliary information. So here I'm just subsetting it and reloading it for the time's sake. To process text data, a common thing we do is to remove some words that are meaningless for our analysis. These are typically, say, the English stop words, or some words that are occurring like almost in all of the posts. For here, because it's a science post, like a science service platform, these keywords like publish, university, institution, research showing up in almost like every single post. So it's kind of meaningless for extracting latent structure from these text corps. So we are removing them. And this count vectorizer provided by scikit-learn is just a way we can transform these text into a document count matrix that we will be taking in as an input to topic modeling. So after filtering, this gives us a vocabulary size of roughly 3,300. So just to briefly visualize how it looks like, these are the top 10 most frequent words in the filtered corpus. Something like cancer, disease, brain showing up, as this online platform is highly biased towards those type of scientific discoveries. And this is how I generate that word count heat map that I just showing on the slides, as well as the word cloud. So I'm skipping that, and now let's jump into the actual topic modeling part using LDA. So it's pretty much similar to how you call all the other scikit-learn models. The latent distributed rate allocation, you create such a model by specifying the number of topics you want. Here I specified to be 4. I'm setting the random states just to make the result reproducible. And after you do it, you just simply fit that model to your data. So this is our X matrix, that document word count matrix. After fitting it, we can transform our data to get the document topic distribution, which we put in this phi matrix. We can also extract that the topic word matrix, that data matrix, from the LDA's component. So it's running there, and I will show result in a bit. Well, from these phi matrix and the data matrix, we can see what are the top words we get for the inferred latent topics we have. We can also see for each post here, for each entry here, what is topic distribution, like how much it's on this topic 1 versus how much is on topic 2. So I have all the codes for generating it here, but I will just be switching back very briefly to slides to show you the result here. Okay, let's go away. Okay, so these are the topics these are the 4 topics we get. And following the topics, I show some top words for them. We can see that although it's like it's just a subset of a raw data set, and the model I'm using is very basic, it's giving us some quite intuitive topics here. Like the first one is focusing more on like cancer and disease and treatment. The second one is more on like health side of the stuff. Third one is definitely on energy and technology. And the fourth one is more on the broader scale of medical research and like collaborations. So here, if we look at some specific documents from it, here are the posts, we can see its distribution. And if you can't read clearly, so the first one is on like human rights treaters makes no difference to health status paper. So that one is mostly on this last topic, topic 4. And the second document is on the childhood cancer, which really spoke to topic 1 and 2. It receives a large weight in both topics. And the last document is like the NASA scientist beginning to do some beginning to study some radiation hazard. That falls more in the topic 3. So that's how latent distributed allocation can be applied. And there's a second method that I've mentioned before that are very popular to perform topic modeling called non-negative matrix factorization. Instead of treating X as being generated from some latent variables, it's approximating it as a product of 2 smaller non-negative matrices. Here I'm just calling the matrix W and H, following the convention. And this is done, again, I'm skipping many maths here. This is done by solving the optimization problem to minimize the difference between X and the product of these 2 matrices subjecting to the constraint that all the matrix entries have to be non-negative. This is where its name come from. This is typically done using some optimization techniques like gradient descent. So the goal of NMF is to minimize this reconstruction error under this constraint. As we've seen this, there are also two matrices generated, and it's in a very similar format from that latent digit setup. Here, the document topic matrix W encodes information on how much each topic contributes to each document. And the second topic word matrix H tells us about how important each word is for each topic. The only difference is that the constraint is only non-negativity, meaning that we do not require entries to sum up to 1. However, if we normalize the rows and columns from the W and H matrix, we can obtain analogs of the theta and phi matrix we've seen before. So that's why they both fall under this general umbrella of topic modeling. And again, this non-negative matrix factorization is also implemented in scikit-learn package, as well as in R package, which for this one we will be seeing a short example on that. Now back to our toy example data. If you notice, if you open that notebook, following the previous sections, I have the next section creating a non-negative matrix factorization model and fitting the data, transforming the data, extracting the components to be the H matrix, which is the topic word matrix. All these are pretty much the same workflow, except for that you change your model from LDA to NMF. And similarly, we can select a few documents to visualize its topic composition, and we can select the topics to visualize what are the top words that forms that topic. So back to the finished example. The topics here is not as intuitive as the LDA example we've seen before. It's capturing mostly the bio and biomedical related topics here. As this is a raw data set, so it's not like a perfectly designed example data set. So it's not surprised to see like signals like this. One thing to notice is that like before normalization, the NMF model only gives the topic contribution for each document. So it needs not adds up to 1. And this sometimes gives us additional information. For example, here, this last document is the same as before, that one on the NASA one. That one, although it seems to be mostly contributed by topic 4 and a little bit of topic 3, it actually receives very little topic contribution comparing to the others. And indeed, like none of these topics are super relevant for this specific document. It's just because I set the topic to be 4, and these are the 4 that are identified, so it has to get some non-zero values on some of these topics. And after normalization, we can get a similar topic probability profile like what we've seen before for LDA. So as a comparison of these two methods, LDA is a probabilistic method, while the NMF is based on matrix. They both take word count as an input. Sometimes NMF can also take the term frequency inverse document frequency matrix. And the output are similarly a topic word matrix and a document topic matrix. The constraints are different. The LDA has a constraint of the probabilities summing up to 1, while NMF just have its non-negativity constraint. LDA is inferred by Bayesian methods, and NMF is done by gradient-based optimization. So these are the methods. Now coming back to the actual applications. We've talked about like this topic modeling is an unsupervised learning technique to extract hidden themes from text. This is where people get the ideas from, but there is more to do with that. It has its application way beyond just text data or NLP. It can actually help us extract latent structures from many types of data. For instance, so here the entities are the documents, latent groups are the topics, and features are the words. We can, in single-cell transcriptomics analysis, we can extract cell types from the cells based on their gene expression. In cancer genomics, we can extract mutational signals from the mutational types of tumor samples. And more broadly, in social sciences or marketing, sometimes we see this user profiling, which extract these latent interests from users based on their activities. So these are all applications of topic modeling. So it's very helpful. And we will be seeing as our second example, a illustration on single-cell transcriptomics clustering using topic modeling. So single-cell RNA sequencing data, this is a single-cell RNA sequencing data from this human peripheral blood mononuclear cells, which is a popular benchmark dataset in many single-cell studies. Each value here in the data matrix that we most care about is the gene expression count for a gene in a cell. There are M cells and N genes. Let's see how it looks like. Of course, like this gene expression matrix is already after processing that we can finally fit into the topic modeling. Here, again, I'm skipping these setup steps, which is installing this single cell processing tool, which provides the built-in data set for us. And I'm just importing the packages and loading the data here. So here I'm doing some data processing for single cells, similarly to how we need to like process and get the word count matrix for our text data. We also need to do like pre-process our single cell data. So this is more like a quality control. We filter out some low quality genes and cells based on the counts. And then this mitochondrial group genes known to be like slightly more expressed than the others. So we need to handle those. And then because the count is like the count distribution is not quite suitable for direct input to as an X matrix. So we log transform the data, which is another typical steps in single cell processing. And because there are a large number of genes, so here we have 13,000 genes after filtering. Just to speed up the demonstration here, I'm filtering down to 2,000 most highly variable genes. This selection of highly variable genes is again a popular step in single cell analysis. Now I have the data matrix, the familiar count matrix that we have. So this is very similar to the document word setting. Now we have the cell gene setting. Let's just briefly take a look at our cells. So here I'm performing a dimensionality reduction to project it onto this 2D UMAP space. And I'm coloring all these. So each point here is a cell, and I'm coloring my cells by the number of genes that are expressed in these cells and also the total number of gene expression counts. We will see this back in a sec, like projecting onto the lower dimensional space help us visualize the cell data, which is a very high dimensional data. Now, again, we come back to perform LDA. Here I'm just setting my number of topics to be 5, and I'm running pretty much the similar thing from before. The only difference, well, not the only difference, this is like the topic distribution for the first 200 cells as these like stacked bar charts that we've seen before for the topics of each document. And because I've projected my cells onto this 2D UMAP space, it can help me visualize its topic or its cluster. Here I'm calling the topic the cluster. It can help me visualize its cluster memberships on a continuous space. So here I'm coloring the cells, the weight it receives in this blue topic of all the cells. And because it's a weight between 0 and 1, I see these gradient colors showing up on my UMAP. And I can have it for all my clusters, where here the clusters are typically interpreted as cell types if in a discrete setting. In this continuous setting, the good thing about that is being able to capturing these continuous cellular heterogeneity. For instance, although this group of cells mostly fall into this green cluster, and this gold cluster also shares like some proportion of this golden topics also share some proportion of these cells. So here I'm using 5 topics. So I'm having 5 such clusters as my cell types. So these are the 5 inferred topics or the inferred cell types using the LDA for single cell data. Like stemming from this, we can use these values for many downstream analysis. So this is for the single cell example. And as I mentioned, there's way more. And also we've just been seeing how it's implemented in Python, but also many such analyses are carried out in R. So I also have a brief demo on a mutational signal analysis example showing in R. So what is this? So this data contains the mutation type count of 50 cancer samples from this TCGA bladder cancer dataset. The mutation count are simply it's based on these single base substitution mutation, and there are 96 total of them. So each value in this data matrix, n by n, is the count for a mutation type in a sample. We have here m samples and 96 mutation types specifically for this data set I'm using. So now let's look at the here. Where do I put it? Yes. Now let's look at the third notebook here. It's Colab notebook, but it's in R runtime. So again, I have preloaded the data here. This loading should be quick, although the installation of the packages may take a bit of time. So I'm taking this data set directly from this package mute signals, but I'm not using the mutational signal analysis implemented in that data set. Instead, I'm using this more general NMF package just to showing like how you can use this on a general type of data. And this is for visualization of the heat map. So after loading the packages and loading the data, where the data size is 50 by 96, 50 samples and 96 mutation types, this is how it looks like in a heat map view. So this is like that document word count matrix that we see. This is again on the log scale. And taking this matrix as the input to topic modeling and running it through the NMF model. So NMF here in R, again, is a very simple syntax. We simply input this data matrix X, specifying the number of topics as the rank and specifying the methods and the number of runs we want. And then we can extract the W matrix and the H matrix using the basis and coef from the fitted model. Like what I said, NMF result can be normalized to get an analog of theta and phi. So we can normalize the signature profile H to be a probabilistic distribution, and similarly normalize this exposure W to be the proportion per sample. And let's just briefly visualize how the result looks like. So we have these is the heat map of our signatures, the normalized H matrix. Because I specify 8 topics, I have 8 rows here. And these are what these are the top what's the word here? These are the document topic distribution reflecting in this heat map. So, and similarly, we can see for each sample here, what are the signature composition. It's a much more colorful bar because I have more topics here, but you get that similar idea of we can visualizing it similarly in this step bar charts. So it's very much related to the previous 2 examples we've seen. And all this shows you like how broadly applicable such topic modeling techniques can be to help us reveal the underlying structures in data. There are some leftover questions here. Like we have these topic modeling results. How do we interpret the result and make sure like we can get some takeaways from it? How to interpret each topic, how to choose a number of topics, and how to evaluate the performance. So I will give like a short answer for each. To interpret each topic, most common choice is to summarize the topic using its high probability word. This relates back to this table we've seen before. Like naturally for this topic economics, like we can summarize these topics from these top words using like our human interpretation or domain knowledge. And in the single cell settings, we can summarize the cell type by the marker genes, which are the high probability genes in that cell type. Or in the mutational signature analysis, we can summarize the signature extracted using the mutation types that most closely, most like highly frequently shows up in that signature. And how to choose K? This is a common question in basically like all unsupervised learning clustering questions. A short answer is just to pick a range and try. But if you indeed want a single K value, the typical workflow that people do is to perform topic modeling with each K across a range of K values a couple times, and then evaluate the performance of some type for each K and choose the K at the elbow. So what I mean by this elbow, so if your performance is lower for both smaller K and larger K, then this K, you can think of it as a relatively optimal choice for your number of topics. Or if the performance is lower for smaller K, but saturates for larger K, then you should also probably stop at this K, as we would want to have as simple a model as possible. And how to evaluate the performance of topic modeling. Of course, we can use our domain knowledge to manually inspect the top words for NLP, or inspect the top genes, see if the marker genes correspond to our known knowledge, or if we can examine further on these genes' characteristics. In NLP, sometimes people also compute metrics to evaluate the performance. A popular metric is what we call coherence score, which measures the semantic similarity between the top N words in a topic. And the higher this coherence score, the better this topic modeling performs. Or we can also evaluate these in downstream applications. For example, in single cell study, when next step are some cell type specific analysis, where these cell types are exactly the inferred topics we get from topic modeling, we can see how the next steps data analysis performs, which will give us a sense on whether the topics we extracted are helpful and meaningful and help explain the structures in the data that we want. So as a summary, we introduced topic modeling. This is a family of unsupervised machine learning techniques for uncovering latent themes and structures in large text data and beyond. And we see these two common approaches for topic modeling: latent dirichlet allocation and non-negative matrix factorization. And we demonstrate its interdisciplinary applications in both Python and R on these NLP data, and as well as to biological data sets. So all this information of the workshops are available online at this GitHub page. And if you have any questions or would like to discuss potential applications of this technique to your own project or data, I'd be happy to chat. And I myself actually work on some next step analysis aggregating these mixed membership clustering, or which topic modeling is a part of it. There can be more to like help boost the reliability, robustness, and interpretability of the result you get from this type of methods. So I'm happy to check. And that's concludes the workshop, although I do kind of flip through fairly quickly on some of the examples. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take.
Hi, that was super useful. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah, that was super useful and very clear. I was wondering what informs your decision for topic modeling versus correlation-based approaches or similar things?
So, like, my opinion is like, if I'm studying the correlations, what matters is like that relationship between the entities I'm looking at. While if I'm using topic modeling, I want to like broadly extract some structures from like all these entities, from all these groups. For example, like I would have these subgroups with continuous distribution on their topics for me. And so actually like these two are not substitution, they're like complementary analysis that we should both consider when we're studying like the complex relationships among a large group of individuals.
Makes sense. One more question.
Yes.
Yeah. How come in the data that you show, well, maybe in like other data, it's different, but from what I saw in this example is that the topics were generally non-overlapping. Is that generally the case, or is that kind of the point, or are there ever places where there can be quite a bit of overlap between the topics?
No, that's the like the non-overlapping is actually a goal for all these the algorithms designed for, because they want to like capture all the information within these four topics. The meaning that these four topics needs to, for example, 4 or 5, they needs to compensate each other on capturing all different aspects. So it is indeed an optimization goal to have them perpendicular. If you
I see. Right. And so it's like every topic is aware of all the other topics that are present, so it tries to maximize the distance between itself and
yeah, kind of like that.
yeah, okay.
And specifically, like some topics you see in my text example is somewhat like close. That's just because that text data I'm using have so like similar topics. I'm not like heavily medical science based.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and thank all for coming. I will wrap up here, and if you have follow-up questions, feel free to contact me. Stop sharing.